uh, Jakarta activation architecture.
Um, Here you can see Jakarta Activation 2.0 architecture. Uh, uh, um, the Java platform, including Java Beans, already provides some support for a modest activation framework. Uh, Jakarta Activation leverages as much of that existing technology as possible. Jakarta Activation integrates these mechanisms. Uh, this diagram shows the major elements comprising the Jakarta activation architecture. Note that the framework shown here is not bound to a particular application. Data handler class. The data handler class shown in this diagram here provides a consistent interface between activation aware clients uh, and other subsystems. Uh, the data source interface. The data source interface encapsulates an object that contains data and that can return both uh, a stream providing data access and a string defining the MIME type describing data. Classes can be implemented for common data sources, web, file system, IM, AP, FTP, etc. The data source interface can also be extended to allow per data source user customizations. Once the data source is set in the data handler, the client can determine the operations available on that data. Jakarta activation includes two data source class implementation for convenience. File data source accesses data held in a file. URL data source accesses data held at a URL. Um, Command map interface. The command map provides a service that allows consumers of its uh, interface to determine the commands available on a particular MIME type, as well as an interface to retrieve an object uh, that can operate on an object of particular MIME type, uh, effectively component registry. The command map can generate and maintain a list of available capabilities on a particular data type by a mechanism defined by the implementation of a particular instance of a command map. The Java Beans package provides the programming model for the software components that implements the commands. Each Java Beans component can use externalization or can implement the command object interface to allow the type data to be passed to it. Jakarta activation defines the command map interface, which provide a flexible and extensible framework for the command map. The command map interface allows developers to develop their own solutions for discovering which commands are available on the system. A possible implementation can access the type registry on the platform uh, or use a server-based solution. Jakarta activation provides a simple default solution based on RFC 1524. mail cap like functionality. The command object interface beans extend the command object interface in order to interact with activation services. Activation aware Java Beans components can directly access their data source and data handler objects in order to retrieve data type and to act on the data. Data content handler interface. The data content handler interface is implemented by classes that are used by the data handler to convert input stream into objects and vice versa. In effect, the data handler object uses a data content handler object to implement the transformable interface. The data content handlers are discovered via the current command map. A data content handler uses data flavors to represent the data types it can access. The data content handler also converts data from objects into input streams. For instance, if an application needs to access a .gif file, it passes the file to the image GIF data content handler. The image GIF data content handler converts the image object into a GIF formatted byte stream. Applications will typically need to provide data content handlers for all the MIME types they intend to support. Note that the Jakarta mail implementations provide data content handlers for many of the MIME types used in mail messages. Here you can see the framework client here. Framework clients interacts with data source. Framework client interacts with data handler. Data source is connected to data handler. Data handler interacts with data content handler. Data handler interacts with command map. Command map is connected to command object.